So I get a call from this woman who asked me if I'd be willing to evaluate her son. I said yes, but the first step is you have to come in and talk to me. I need some background information. You and your husband. She said, well, I can't come with my husband. She said, we're divorced. I said, okay, then if you can't come with your husband, then I'll see you alone. So she came in and I said, why do you want to have your son evaluated? How old is he? 6 years old. I said, so what's prompting this need for an evaluation? So I'll tell you. Last week, my son started to cry when I put him to bed. And he says, I want Tati. I want Tati. She says, well, Tati doesn't live here anymore. You know that. It's nothing, but I want Tati. I want Tati. Tried to put him to sleep, wouldn't go to sleep. So finally I see that he needs to sleep, 6-year-old boy. So I called up my ex. I said, listen, I know it's not your night, but he won't go to sleep without you, so would it be okay if he came to you tonight? She said, sure, no problem. I'll be right over, I'll pick him up. I'll get in the car and drive over. So my ex comes over, takes him, and give him the pajamas, everything, and he goes to my ex's house. About 20 minutes later, I get a call from my ex. So what's the problem? So I'm putting him to bed. He says, I want mommy. I said, look, my ex says to me, listen, you were just at mommy's house. And you said you wanted to meet. No, I want my mommy. I want my mommy. I said, I'm trying to put him to sleep. Come, look, you have mommy tomorrow night. No, I want mommy. So what can I do? He says, he won't go to sleep. I guess he wants to go back to you. Can I bring him over? I said to my ex, of course. Bring him over. I'll meet you at the door and I'll take him and go to sleep here. So the father brings the boy back to the mother's house and drops him off. And as he drops off his son, the son starts screaming, Tati, don't leave. Don't leave. Grabs his leg and he's crying, throwing himself on the floor. Please, don't leave. So I don't live here anymore. This is where your mother's house. You wanted your mother. You wanted me. You came to me. You want your mother. You have to stay here now. I don't live here anymore. I'm sorry. And it was a terrible scene. And my ex had to just pull himself away. And my son was inconsolable. And I don't know what's with him. What's wrong. I want you to evaluate him to see if how he's adjusting. Make sure that he doesn't need maybe therapy. Okay. So I saw the boy, bright boy, very precocious, and above average in intelligence, clearly. And I did my evaluation. I saw that he didn't have any symptoms of any psychological problems, emotional problems. And I had a poster in my office, which I still have in my waiting room in my Brooklyn office, where I have a waiting room. And it's a very famous poster. It says, children learn what they live. You may have seen it. It's a very famous poster. It begins, children who live with hostility learn to condemn. And it goes through a whole long list of, if children live with this, they learn that, so on. So this little boy was able to read at 6 years old, maybe he was 7, couldn't be more than 7. And he was able to read. And he's reading this list. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to condemn. He says, is that about me? I said, well, do you live with hostility, with anger? He said, no. I said, well, then that doesn't apply to you. Okay, he reads the next one. Child lives with, he learns to. He said, does that apply to me? I said, well, do you live with that? No. Okay. We go down the list. We go down the whole long list. And he says, which one is about me? I said, well, did you feel any of those applied to you? He said, no. He said, well, you know what? Let's make one up now about you. I said, okay. I said, if a child lives with, what do you live with? He's thinking. He says, I live with a mommy and a tati who are divorced. I said, okay. So here's a piece of paper, and you write it out, and I'll attach it to my poster. So he writes, if a child lives, and he asked me how to spell child, and lives with, and I told him the spelling. If a child lives with a mommy and a tati divorced, he learns to be And he stopped. He looks at me, he says, well, how do I finish it? You know, all the others said he learns this, he lives with this, he learns that. So what's the end of mine? I said, well, if a child lives with a mother and father divorced, he learns, well, what do you live with? He's thinking a minute. He says, I'm sad. I said, well, that's how you should finish it. So he wrote, if a child lives where his mother and father are divorced, he learns to be sad. And that's how we finished it. I had it for many years attached with Scotch tape to my poster hanging in my office. Now, I'm not suggesting, Rabbosai, that anyone here, chas v'shalom, is contemplating divorce. I'm sure if you've been coming to the VOD regularly, I'm sure your shalom bias is above average. But I want to talk about children of divorce tonight because it's very possible that you know someone who's considering divorce. And maybe no one in the room tonight even knows anyone who's considering divorce. But it's highly likely that at some point in the future you will know someone who's considering divorce. And if and when you do, then it's very important that whoever it is that's considering divorce consider very seriously the impact that's going to have on the children. Now, what do Chazal have to say about this? I heard a story recently that I want to share with you about the Debreciner Rav Zatzal, whom I knew. He was nifta maybe 20, 25 years ago, I don't remember exactly. I asked him shalas. I wouldn't say I had a close kesher with him, but he was a tremendously, tremendous Talmud Chacham, to say the least. He was a Baal Halacha. He was machaber many sforim of shalas and shuvas. At the time when he was alive, when a Rav would give halacha shir, he would say, Rav Moshe holds like this, Debreciner holds like that, and the shir would go. I mean, they were mentioned in the same breath. I'm not saying he was equal to Rav Moshe, but he was certainly in his league, we'll put it that way. The story about the Debreciner that I heard was that not too long ago, a few years ago, exactly how many I don't know, one of the Debreciner Ravs, Eniklach, went out to the Beis Olam to daven at the Zayda's kever. And while he's there, he sees a couple standing also at the kever, pouring out their tears, crying bitterly, weeping and crying, they're uncontrollable. He didn't know who they were, didn't recognize them, they weren't family members, some strangers, and it's been many years since the Debreciner was nifter, and it's not a kever that people go to so much that they're so familiar to go to daven. It wasn't like there were crowds of people there. So after he finished davening, and they're walking away from the kever, he says, excuse me, I hope you don't mind me asking, but this is my Zayda that you were davening in his kever. What was your shaykhus with him? He said, you want to know, is your Zayda? Okay, I'll tell you. When we first got married, it wasn't going so well. It wasn't so smooth. We're having a difficult time adjusting to each other. And after about a year or so, we decided this is just not going to work. It's not going to work. We have to separate. We have to get divorced. And we were both maskim. It wasn't a contention. It wasn't a bitter disagreement. We both realized we'll just have to get divorced. So we came to Yazeda, Debreciner, Rav, and we said, would you be misada the get for us? We want to be done completely oiska halten, and we want somebody chashav to be misada the get. Could you be misada the get for us? We said we tried, and we just can't manage to get together. He said to us, do you have children? We have one infant. That's it, one infant. 6-month-old boy. So he said to us, okay, you want me to be misada the get? I will. But I have to see the baby first. See the baby before you can. I want you to bring the baby to me, both of you. And then I'll be misada the get, but I want to see the baby first. Okay. What do you want to see the baby for? But, all right. So we came back, and we brought the baby. So she said, what a beautiful baby. Kanai gorgeous baby. He said, may I hold him? I said, of course. Absolutely. They handed him over the baby. He took the baby in his arms. Said, what a beautiful Kanai. He's holding the baby. Then he started talking to the baby. He said, I'm a Rav, says to the baby, and part of a Rav's job is to be Masada Gittin. So your parents came to me, and they asked me if I would be Masada or get for them. So I said to them, of course, I'd be willing to do so, and I'm going to be Masada or get for them. But before I do, I feel I have to apologize to you, because I know what this means now. It means in another less than 3 years, you'll have an upsharing. And your mommy and tati won't be able to be there together to celebrate your first haircut and take you to cheder and wrap you in a talis. They won't both be there together when you come in to the cheder to learn aleph beis and lick the honey from the aleph beis. And then, a few years later after that, in about 10 years, you'll have a bar mitzvah. And both parents won't be able to be there, the bar mitzvah, because your parents are going to be divorced. And then you'll go on and eventually you'll get married. And when you get engaged, both parents won't be able to be together at the vort. And you'll send out invitations to your chasna, and your parents will have to be listed separately. And they won't both be there at every Sheva Brachas because they're going to be divorced. So I have to apologize to you that you're going to have to go through all this and that I'm going to be Masada the get for your parents. And when he finished, he handed the baby back to us. We were both crying. And we left his house and we decided we can't do this. We can't do this to him. We're just going to have to make it work. And we did. That was 23 years ago. That little boy is a chassan. He's getting married now. We felt we had to come back. We had to ask your Zayda to come to the chasana, to invite him. He's no longer here, but we felt he deserved to come. He's certainly part of the simcha. So the Einikel of the Debrecen Rav thanked him very much for sharing the story. And I wanted to share it with you because I think it drives home the point that certainly divorce is an option and sometimes it's necessary. But when there's children involved, you have to think very, very carefully about taking that option. And all efforts need to be expended before you take that option. And that's the message that I hope you'll share with anyone that you know or will know who's ever considering a divorce.